Hello and welcome back to Railroads Online. We are back on the Crystal Lake Railroad today, and I had a bit of a thought as to what we needed to do today before I started this recording. And I think what we have to do, because we are a bit short on funds in order to get more livestock cars, is we need to make uh, a couple of log runs to the sawmill here, which is currently full on the outbound, but we can make one log run in, get that filled up, and then I think what we're going to do is we're going to come up here and we're going to go ahead and start loading up the cattle farm. Whoops, the cattle farm here, so that we can be ready for the outbound cargo when it comes time when we get those um, cars. So that'll give us a couple of different things to do today. One being to showcase our newer locomotive Elenora, the 280 consolidation that we have here. And so we're going to go ahead and start with that. We're going to go ahead and light the headlight up. Now, like most of the other locomotives, except for Pete, this one has no directional lighting and has only the kerosene lamps. So once I get this locomotive pulled out and running, we will be on our way over to the lumber yard for a quick run up there to get a little bit more, and then we'll bring this locomotive back and start up the mountain with Lucky. Now, since I filmed my last build video, I've actually started recording a series with the game BioShock, and the first video of that series went live um, the day I started recording this video, and I've already got the second video edited. I recorded them both at the same time. But I've already got the second video edited and it's ready to go up. I think uh, what I'm going to try and do is get them uploaded on the weekends. With these being at the start, with the Railroads Online videos being at the start of the week. Okay, so this locomotive is significantly stronger than uh, the Mogul, which I had run down here in the valley for quite some time off camera before uh, bringing the before bringing it up to the top station. And this locomotive was something of a test purchase. I wanted to see if it had a little bit of a better top speed. I knew it had more pulling power, but I wanted to see if it had a better top speed, and it did not. But that being said, I actually have to run this locomotive a bit slower uh, than I could run Lucky because of the longer wheelbase. Now right here it doesn't really matter so much. And you can see, you know, running light engine, I've only got the regulator at 20% and the full reverser. And you can kind of see, you know, this is a pretty decently speeded locomotive. Decent pickup, decent get up and go. And one of the reasons I wanted to get a larger locomotive was to. It looks like our switches are already set. So one of the reasons I wanted to get a larger locomotive was to see if it would comfortably make it around the sawmill loop. And it looks like it does. I just have to go at 10, 15 mile an hour versus top speed at 20. And when I was doing that with Lucky, the locomotive would rock and roll like it was like it was actually part of the music. Um, this one, however, because I have to take it slower, is far more stable and far more consistent on the uh, on the loop. Now, um, I don't think that it is that it runs fast on the loop. Uh, but I haven't had it really tested. Okay, we've got all our brakes off. We've got a couple of locomotives talking to us. I guess they're not happy that we haven't used them in a while. uh, but um, but yeah, this locomotive is far more stable. I've just got to go a bit slower. And we will get rolling here. I think. I'm pretty sure I got all the brakes off. Yeah, we're moving now. Okay. So as we get underway, this rake of 10 will be more than enough to fill the lumber yard. So we're gonna or the sawmill. So we're gonna go ahead and uh, bring these back and reload this train before we before we head up the mountain. But we should be able to at least get a little bit done down in the valley to build up a few funds, so maybe we can have Clyde come down and take a rake of cattle cars back up the mountain. Now you can see this locomotive has got zero issues with this train. It's not having any trouble at all pulling it. I'm even backing off the reverser a bit, and we're still maintaining speed. And the reason for that is that it has more pulling power than the Mogul. Whereas the Mogul would be doing maybe 15, 20, maybe 20 if it was lucky. This one's able to do that. It's able to run 20 to 23 without any issue at all, and this is a fully loaded train. Now, when I'm off camera, what I tend to do is I tend to hook all three of the trains of log cars together and just deliver them all at once. And usually that's enough to fill up both the input and the output sides, minus about 5 cars. So we're only going to end up taking and delivering about half this train, and then we'll come back, reload it, and run a couple of trains. That's right. Nope, it's not. Run a couple of trains from the sawmill if I really think I need to, which, if we're going to be doing a few loads up the mountain, it might be just a bit more... Yeah, it might just be a bit more money in the short run than to do a couple of loads down here in the valley with this locomotive. So once we get around, once we get around to the output side, we're gonna go ahead and unload and head back up to the sawmill, load the empties up, and put the train away. And then we'll come back down here, light engine, and run a few loads out of here for just a little bit of extra, funds, so that we can get a couple more cattle cars quicker. Right now we can only afford one, so that's not really a decent sized train. But if we can get a few, if we can get a rake of 6, I'll be happy. Okay, come on. Roll a little further and we'll be good. And right about there is a good enough spot. Okay, so let's go ahead and unload these real quick. See if 3 will get it. Should be 4 or 5. Looks like it's going to be 5. So let's do that. That's going to be close enough to full to make a difference. 99 logs out of 100. Don't ask me how it came to that, but it's what it is. Okay, so let's go ahead and I'll show you what I'm talking about here in terms of the slower speed that we need to go. And after I sent the mogul flying off of this portion of the rails, it was actually on the outside of this curve where it merges back into the main line. I put up this sign because this particular locomotive would flip much easier. So we're doing about 10 miles an hour, and this is about all the faster that we can go without causing any major problem. But once we get back out onto the main line, we'll go ahead and pick up a fair amount of speed pretty quick. As you can see, that's a pretty tight curve for this locomotive. And we're already up to our top speed. So basically I intend to use this locomotive here for most of the flat ground running for a while. When we get to the point of buying the larger locomotives and we actually get the coal industry in, I will be switching over to the articulated and the larger locomotives from there. And what I'm gonna do is use those because more for the flat ground and for the mountain climbing on the opposite side of the map, because they have higher tractive effort and better speed. Whereas I think we're going to go ahead and keep this locomotive for the log trains and the cut lumber. Now I imagine the articulated would be able to handle this fairly easily, but I don't see as it's necessary really, when this locomotive seems to be handling it just perfectly fine as it is. Okay, let's get our switches set so we don't have a massive issue and run into a siding at full speed. Okay, there we go. So I think this running session is just going to be a little bit of just a general funds building episode. It's not going to be any real set goal or anything like that. We're just going to try and get the funds together to build or to buy the livestock wagons. And since we can't do anything with the meat packing plant as of yet, we're going to go ahead and sell the cattle at the Red Mountain Depot. I did look in my in the previous episode. I did look it up, and the Red Mountain Depot does in fact function just like the standard depot does. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And that should give us a fair amount of money moving forward to get the rolling stock set up so that we can connect our next industry. I haven't fully decided what that industry is going to be yet, but I imagine it'll probably be the next easiest one to get to, which is the oil field. And if I'm not mistaken, and I could be very easily, the oil field actually will be taking some of the cut lumber in order to function. So let's take a look at that real quick. Yeah, it will be taking beams in order to function. So we need to source the other two in order to get anything out of it. But they will be coming from other places. There we go. Now we're going to go ahead and line these next two up. And when we get them lined up and everything loaded, I will come back and we'll make a few runs from the sawmill. Okay, so while I was loading up the train, I did figure out where the goods were coming from, and they're coming from the same place as the iron pipe, which is oddly enough, the iron mill, or the iron works, which is up here. So in order to get this to function, in order to get the oil field to function, we'll need to get the ironworks connected. Now see, all of these from this point on start to really get fairly interconnected. Every industry needs every other industry to be connected in order for things to work out the right way. So after we get the cattle farm up and running, that's going to be the main focus of this series, is getting the rest of the industries connected. And we're not going to be doing... I'm going to have to get these headphones replaced. We're not going to be doing running sessions like this, which are just to build funds. We're not going to be doing them as often. Now, that's not to say that we won't still be doing them, because we don't have funds available on, en masse to just buy all the rolling stock that we need every time we open up a new industry. No, we're going to have to change our tactic a little bit and get the industries ready to produce first, which means working with the rolling stock that we already have available, which in this case is the stake cars, the bulkhead cars, the tank cars, the box cars, and the flat cars. We can start to anticipate uh, the kinds of cars that we'll need as we start opening those businesses up. But for the time being, until those businesses are fully interconnected, we won't really have a need for those cars. Now, I don't anticipate doing a lot of building sessions. Personally, I don't particularly care for them. Um, Mainly for the fact that, being on a time limit doesn't exactly allow me to do quickly what I need. It doesn't allow me to do what I need to do. Uh, in order to make things work, I've got to put in something that will work in the short run, but like you saw in the first and second build videos that I did, which were episodes 3 and whoa, we're gonna hit hard. Oh, jeez. 3 and 6, I believe. Um, Not really a whole lot got done in the time frame that I had, and those two videos were both um, 3.5, almost 4 hour recordings. So if that gives you any idea of how much gets done in that amount of time, uh, you kind of get a little bit of an idea why I'm not too keen on what I'm doing on recording them as much. So they're not going to be an all the time thing. They're going to be, we'll leave that for now. They're going to be more akin to a once in a while when we just absolutely need to change things up a little bit. Okay, so we're going to pull our rake of stake cars out once we get up here. But I'm going to stop and I'm going to turn the locomotive around so that we're facing the right direction. So once I get that taken care of and once we get over there and hooked up, I will get back with you and we will go from there. Okay, we are back and I've just connected up to the line of stake cars here, and what we're going to do is we're going to pull this out, we're going to put it on the center line, and we're going to do a runaround, and we're actually going to pull this train around because we're actually facing the wrong direction. So we're gonna pull out here and we're gonna go past this three-way switch, and when we get past that three-way switch, we're gonna change the three-way and the switch that we're rolling by right now, and we're gonna put it on that little center line there, which does go all the way through. We're gonna keep it off of the main line, I think, but even if we don't, it'll be far enough past this three-way switch and not quite close enough to the other set of switches to really make that much of a difference. So let's see how we do here. Now, if I remember correctly, I have had this train loaded up before with the consolidation, and it does the consolidation does very well with this train. It hauls it with no problem at all. But that said, it's only about 2 cars longer than log cars, so I can't imagine that it would be too much of an issue hauling it anyway. Okay, so let's go ahead and get our lines switched here. And let's go ahead and, yeah, let's do that. Yeah, because we're going to have, yeah, we can't get back onto the dual line from that track, which is fine. Whoops, helps if I go the right direction. We can't get back onto the loop line from that track, so we should be good. Now, ultimately, that line is going to lead out to, and I know I've shown you guys that switch several times, that dead switch. It's ultimately going to lead out to the ironworks and then over to the refinery, and then it's going to come back around the mountain over by the ironworks, connect up the coal mine, the iron mine, and the smelter, all on one line. As of right now, I don't know how that's going to work, but that is the ultimate plan. And the oil, or the refinery and the oil field, are going to be connected in their own loop, which comes off of that same switch. So we'll see when the time comes as to how that plan works out. But for right now, it looks like we're going to have enough room on this switch to be able to do a runaround. Which is exactly what we were planning. Okay, I think that's close enough. So we can go ahead and detach from that. Put the brake on right here. Even though I'll have to run around the train to get it detached. That brake will hold it there for a minute, and that's all we need. I'm going to pull up here past this switch, just past it, not too far. And we'll do that. Slide a little bit. It's not exactly a good thing, but it'll work. Let's see if I can switch. Why are we rolling? We are rolling for some dang reason. Why are we rolling? Apparently having just one car, or having the brakes on just one car, isn't quite enough to keep it from rolling. So we're going to go back here, and we're going to take the brake off of this car. Oh, well, how about that? The brake came off anyway. So we're gonna put it back there again. Now let's see if it'll stay this time. Whoa, Nelly. And it should. Okay, so let's go ahead and try this again, and hopefully the train doesn't decide to follow us this time. I don't think it will now that that brake's on. I thought I had it on to begin with, but I guess I didn't. Okay. Well, we're going to do a quick run around. Make sure our switches are set. Yeah, when you're going to the north, you can get on it from both sides, or you can when you're going to the north, you can get onto the new line that's going to be there from either line. But coming south, you've got this little bit of a transition, and you've got this bypass loop for when in situations like this, where you've got a train doing a runaround if need be, you can get onto the bypass line and not have to worry about uh, having to wait for the train doing the runaround or the locomotive doing the runaround. You can just get on a bypass line, which could be the center line or could be the far left line like I've got here right now. But it'll make it a little bit easier for the trains to be able to move through the yard easily. So we're actually going to push this train back past those, or that bar of switches, and pull it backwards. Now for this first, yeah, we're going to be pulling it backwards. And for this first run, we're going to be behind the caboose here. So we're going to go ahead and switch ourselves back. Oops. There we go. Okay. So once I get this loaded, I will get back with you and we'll get this taken around and unloaded. Okay, we are loaded, so we're going to go ahead and head back over to the main depot there, the central depot. And we'll get this unloaded and we'll go ahead and see where we're at in terms of funds. Because if we can get just two livestock wagons, livestock cars, we can go ahead and take them up the mountain after I do some silent running for the remaining portion of this lumber. So the way I run this lumberyard, and I think I've said it before, is that I will load up both the input and the output and then empty them both back out and call it good, and the next time I need them, I'll fill them both back up before I start transporting any of the goods out, which is probably the better way to go about running these while I'm doing single player here. If I was running with a number of people, and when Patreon goes live and people start signing up for Patreon, they'll get access to my Discord account, or not my account, but the server, and we'll be able to start opening up multiplayer sessions on this map once everything gets built out and all that. And I think what I'm going to do is have about 10 people running. Yeah, see, we're rocking and rolling here just with this guy. So I need to slow down maybe just a touch. Have about 10 people running running locomotives and managing the, acting as conductor. So we'll probably have about 5 trains running at a time, depending on whether or not they've got a caboose. Like this one's got a caboose. I know the log trains need cabooses, but right now I've got other priorities. So we run what we can. But yeah, as long as I'm running, single player, the way I operate the industries is I'll fill the input and the output up, and then when I need the funds, I'll go ahead and empty them both out. It gives me 4 or 5 trains of this size on the cut lumber on the log line. I don't know what it'll give me for the wheat farm and the cattle farm, because those industries operate they operate the same way, but at the same time they are very different. They seem to run out of resources much faster, and I think that's partially due to the ratio of goods out versus goods in, and what it takes to produce the goods that are going out. So we'll probably see how that works here later on in this video. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and get these trains run, so that we've got enough funds to go ahead and buy the rolling stock. And I think we're going to go ahead and just try and get the whole amount right off the bat. Alrighty, we are back, and we are actually going to go ahead and just empty out the sawmill today, because I made the deliveries and realized that, hey, we're going to have just enough cargo capacity to be able to pretty much empty out the sawmill this time around, which is not usually the case. Usually we've got 2 or 4 left out of each one of the 2 goods out that it produces. And I think this time we're going to be able to actually empty out the beams. So I think that's what we're going to go ahead and do. If we end up needing a couple extra cars more than we got, we'll just leave that for next time. That's usually what ends up happening. But as far as that goes, we do have the funds available now to go ahead and buy all of the rolling stock that we're going to need, which feeds all 6 of the livestock cars that we're going to start with. And if it turns out that we actually need more to make up a train, we'll probably end up making 2 trains, because like I said in my last running session, I think we've maxed out what the mogul can haul up the mountainside. But that's not really too big of a deal. 2 trains with 1 waiting full is nothing really to be concerned about. That'll give multiplayer a chance to have 2 of those have 2 trains running at a time up and down the mountain to the meat packing plant once we get that all taken care of. So we're coming up here to the sawmill, and I'm going to go ahead and get my camera ready, and we're going to go ahead and load this last run of lumber, and I will get back with you when it gets delivered. Okay, so with that last delivery, we now have enough to get the livestock cars. So that's what we're going to do here real quick before we take this uh, rake of steak cars back up to the sawmill and put them back in the siding. So let's go in to our purchasing page here and come on over and customize our uh oh okay, customize our livestock cars. So I think let's see, yeah, we're gonna go ahead and go with that one. It's a darker color, and to me it just looks better. So we go 6, and we'll do CLR, and just like that we have ourselves a new rake of livestock cars. Now, did it put them all in the same area? 3, 4, 5. Now, where's number 6? Way on back there. Okay. Well, we can make that work. All we got to do is back up uh, to get this rake of steak cars put back at the sawmill. So we're going to go back into the buy menu. We're going to get another caboose. Over here, we're going to customize it. Well, we only got 2 choices there, don't we? Helps if I can spell, huh? Let's try that again. Now, I don't need to capitalize them in the print or in the box here where I'm typing because it capitalizes all of them. But for me, that's something of a habit because I have taken copywriting courses as well as having been writing for a good number of years. Now, the copywriting that I'm talking about is uh, the where'd it go? There it is. Um, Wording or the wordage that you find on, say, a website or a sales pamphlet. How many of these can we do? 2, 3. Okay, we can only do 2. Hmm. Okay, let's go ahead and wait on that. I still want to make up another rake of um, water tankers, but we don't particularly have enough right now. So let's get that taken care of. There we go. I don't know why I jumped when I hit the lantern button, but whatever. So let's see where our caboose ended up. It ended up right there. Okay. Well, let's go ahead and put our lights on. I'm surprised somebody hasn't asked me yet, why do you do that? Or why do you open the door on the caboose but not on the locomotive? Oh, I don't know. It's lazy, I guess. But we're going to go ahead and turn all the brakes on these cars off here real quick. And when I get done with that, we'll take the steak cars back over to the sawmill and call that train good and start working our way up to the mountain or up to the top station with this new rake of cattle cars. Okay, here we go. That's the last one. Now all we need to do is back up to uh, make our run back to that sighting. But before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and switch all the tracks so that we don't have an issue uh, getting in there. Which would be good. Okay. So that'll put us right in. Or that'll put us right into that sighting. So we're going to go ahead and start backing up. And take this train back over to the sawmill, and then when we get back over here to the central yard, I'm going to bring out the well, I'm just going to use Elenora here to sort that train into a proper consist. Oh, wait, would you look at that? I missed a boxcar. Well, we'll get that on the way back. Or we'll get that when we get back. But yeah, we'll go ahead and sort this into a proper consist, and then we'll bring Clyde down. And looks like, well, it looks like we got another dust storm coming in. We'll bring Clyde down and have him take it up the mountain. And it looks like it's going to be a dark day with this dust storm moving in. I think here, if my theory on this is correct, I think here in a few episodes I'm going to go in and fiddle with the weather settings again, see if it can't give us some different weather, and see what it actually ends up giving us. Because we don't need the same weather cycle over and over and over again, because this tends to kind of get a little boring. And with this one, it's something that, you know, with the thunderstorms in the ASMR videos, I could at least leave the camera in this view as I'm backing up, or as I'm waiting or trying to see where I'm going as far as clearance, and whether or not I've passed something that I need to pass before I stop. Because the thunder adds a little bit of atmosphere to the video and just makes it easier to watch. Whereas with this, you really don't hear anything if I'm sitting still. And that does tend to not really benefit the listener on those videos. Caboose weirding out over here. If I move the camera in the right spot, all the windows start flashing. That's not normal. Okay, so let's go ahead and uncouple here. Get back in the locomotive. And start our way back to the central station. Okay, so let's see how we want to do this. We want the caboose in line first. I gotta release the brake on this guy here. Okay, so we want the caboose in line first, and we're gonna put it on the second line, next to where we've got Elenora parked. So let's see. Let's get our switches switched over. There we go. And since we're going to be coming back on that line anyway, I want to go ahead and switch that to begin with. We actually need, we need that. Okay. So, let's go ahead. That's not what there we go. Let's go ahead and start switching. You can see there's not a whole lot of visibility to this sandstorm. But I suppose that's about what could be expected for something like this. Okay, so we are going to go ahead and back up onto the caboose, I do believe. If my switches were right. And due to the lack of visibility, I'm really not going to know until I'm right there because I can't really see which lines I'm on. But if I set my switches right, and I think I did, and it looks like I did, we'll be backing right up onto the caboose. And when we park the as we park each car in the line that I want to put them on, we're not going to just back them down as far as we can. The reason I took the brakes off is to make them easier to move. Uh, and it seems, even though none of these are really on flat ground, that the rolling stock doesn't go anywhere in this yard. So what we're going to do is we're going to put this caboose back as far as we need to get our clearance, and then we will hook up to the rest of the rolling stock. So let's see how far back we need to go. Probably not very far. That's a pretty sharp little corner. Yeah, not very far at all. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and detach. We're going to detach. Okay, it looked like it just decided to reattach itself, but I guess it didn't. So let's see. Did it or didn't it? That is the ultimate question. Ah, looks like it didn't. Cool. So we're going to go ahead and back down on the rest of this rolling stock, and I think even though they're done two at a time, we're going to go ahead and try and pick as many up as we can. Whoops. Just make this as quick as possible. So we want to go ahead and get this center line first. Do that. Since it goes 2 by 2 by 2, we should be able to just make short work of this. And get Elenora put away and go and get Clyde. Now, if I really wanted to tempt fate and see how this locomotive did going up the switch, but hey, look at that, it's clearing up. See how this locomotive does going up the switchbacks. I would take these cars with Elenora, but I don't really see a need to do that. Oh, they're green. Okay. Well, that's interesting. I didn't realize they were green. The the lighting in that buy menu is not conducive to seeing the true color. These are green. They actually very well match this locomotive. Um, I'm not going to take this locomotive up there to keep the train matching, but it's kind of a nice little thing that does that. I was under the impression that these cars were a dark brown, not green. But that's okay because they still look good. Kind of a dark twist on a Christmas train, if you know what I mean. A bright red... I should have made the caboose green, dang it. Heck, I probably still could. That way this train would just match everything. So we're going to go ahead and connect up to those other two. And we'll go and get Clyde. But yeah, that's kind of a nice little thing. Eleanora's bright, you know, well, kind of the same color green as these cattle cars. So maybe we ought to get a green caboose to go with it. I know a couple of people that would be okay with that. I find it amusing that it even happened. Okay, let's go ahead and set that one for later. No, let's go backwards. There we go. Oops. Dang it. There we go. Yeah, see, it numbers these cars whether I number it or not, which I believe I said something in the previous running session episode when we were buying more rolling stock for the High Line. But yeah, there's really no point to numbering it because it'll number them every time you go in to the buy menu. And if you want them differently numbered, you have to go in and buy them buy the rolling stock one piece at a time. And that's really not the most entertaining thing to do. It's actually kind of frustrating because you got to remember what number you're on, and every single time you buy a piece of rolling stock, you've got to go in and find it again. So I think having the numbers repeating is kind of a fair trade-off to not having to buy each piece individually. Okay, we are almost ready to set this switch so that we can go back and pick up the caboose. No, I don't. Okay, well, that'll work too. All right, let's get this switch set. So I was talking to somebody offline about this series, and they know who they are. They watch these videos too. And we were actually talking about the Montezuma and how I was planning on just making it a switching locomotive for here in the yard. And I still fully intend on doing that. But they gave me an idea that I want to run by you guys for later on in this series. There is a lot of empty space up at the top of the map that can be used for other industry, or other industries that are actually part of this game that are not currently implemented on this map. Now, assuming that I can find good places for them, would anybody be interested in trying to get a gold industry connected up with this map? Because if that is the case, there is a combination passenger and baggage car that would more or less make the passenger car a little less useless in terms of appearance, in terms of use. And the reason I asked this is because it was as we were talking about this, it kind of gave me an idea, or gave me a little bit of a hint of an idea as to how I could build this line in such a way as to set up something of a uh, fake, because they haven't implemented passenger service in this, a fake uh, passenger excursion run. And I was thinking that that might be a good way to add just a little bit more to this map that it wouldn't have otherwise. Okay, so let's bring up our map, and we are going to go up the hill and grab Clyde. So, okay, we're up here. We're going to go up and grab Clyde, and he's actually going to live down at the bottom station, but we've got to get the... and that's not Clyde. We got to get the cattle cars up here. Before we, yeah, we've got to get the cattle cars up here before we go very much further. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and go on down the mountain, and I will catch back up with you guys when we get connected to the cattle cars. So I'll see you then. Okay, we are back down at the central station, and I'm getting ready to hook up to these yeah, I'm getting ready to, not getting ready to anymore, I just hooked up to the cattle cars as I was trying to find the right words. And we're going to go ahead and take these back up to the top station. And after I bring Clyde back down, I think, well, no, I think I'm going to go ahead and call it when we call this episode done. When we get back up to the top station, because looking at my record time, I'm approaching the limit of what my computer will allow me to record. And it has nothing to do with storage or anything like that. It's just the setting that I can't change. So once we get back up to the top station, I think we're going to go ahead and call it a day. And I will bring Clyde back down off camera, and we will work on getting the cattle farm up and running in the next episode. Alrighty, as we come up to the top station here, I just want to say thank you again for joining me today. And if you enjoyed the video, why don't you guys go ahead and give it a like and a subscribe, and leave a comment. Let me know how I did, and let me know if you guys have any other ideas, or, you know, have any thoughts on what I could do differently, what I could do better. And if you would like to see any different games, I've got several other games right now that I could start up series on. One of them I've already got a series on is BioShock, and I plan to be going through all 3 of those games. But I also have other games available that are more along the lines of this, namely games like Transport Fever, Transport Fever 2, and other games like that, which would have a lot of the same uh, genre as being world building uh, to them. But for now, I think we're going to go ahead and leave it here. And if you guys, like I said, if you guys enjoyed the show, leave a like, leave a comment, and subscribe. And I will see you in the next one.